Picture one of the most decorated operators the British SAS has ever produced. A man who has done things in combat that most soldiers cannot imagine. A master of his craft, respected across every special operations community on Earth. Now picture that same man dropped into the West Virginia mountains, alone, exhausted, moving through the dark on Delta Force selection. And picture him failing, walking out without the prize, the same as some anonymous candidate who washed out on day 2. It sounds absurd. It sounds to a British audience almost like an insult. But it could happen, and the reason it could happen is one of the most misunderstood truths in all of special operations. Because Delta selection is not measuring what almost everyone thinks it is measuring. You know both names. Delta Force, the secret American unit at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and the SAS, the British regiment that Delta was openly modeled on, the original that wrote the book the whole world has been reading ever since. So let me be honest with you, right from the start, because this audience deserves it, and will catch anything less. There is no famous, documented case of the SAS sending its best men to fail Delta selection. The historic exchange ran the other way, and the two units have cross-trained as equals for decades. But the question itself, could the toughest SAS operator fail Delta selection, opens a door onto what selection actually does. If you want to understand why even a legend could wash out, and why it would prove nothing about how good he is, subscribe to War Code. The answer changes how you see every elite unit on the planet. Start with the relationship, because it matters. Delta and the SAS are not rivals in the way outsiders imagine. Charlie Beckwith built Delta on the SAS model after his own exchange tour at Hereford, and ever since, the two units have trained side by side, swapped techniques, and exchanged members through long-standing programs. SAS men have embedded with Delta. Delta operators have worked at Hereford. They are closer to brothers than competitors, two of the only units on Earth that operate at the same altitude. So this is not a story about one being better than the other. It is a story about what happens when you take a man forged in one system and run him through the filter of another. It is worth remembering the company Delta keeps. The unit regularly cross-trains with the most elite forces on the planet, the British SAS, the German counter-terror unit GSG-9, the Israeli Sayeret Matkal, trading tactics and techniques with men who are masters in their own right. Delta respects those units enormously. And yet not one of those foreign operators, however brilliant, would be guaranteed to pass Delta selection, because selection was never a ranking of skill. A man can be among the best in the world at the work and still not be the shape this one American unit is looking for. Skill and fit are two different currencies, and selection only spends one of them. And notice what the silence tells you. If the toughest SAS men were routinely sent to be humbled by Delta selection, the special operations world would know the stories, because that world talks. The absence of those stories is not an accident. The two units do not use each other as proving grounds to settle some imaginary score. They exchange members to learn, not to rank. The whole premise of one humiliating the other misreads a relationship built on mutual respect between equals. Which is exactly why the interesting question is not who would win. It is what the test would actually reveal. Here is the truth that breaks the whole question open. Selection does not measure who is the best operator. It does not even really measure who is the toughest. It measures fit. Fit for one specific unit, with one specific culture, doing one specific kind of work, in one specific way. That is not a flaw in the system. It is the entire purpose of the system. A modern special operations assessment spends the majority of its time not on raw physical punishment, but on the cognitive, the social, and the emotional, on how a man thinks, how he behaves under pressure, how he fits with the people who will have to trust him with their lives. Peer assessments, cadre observation, personality profiling, situational judgment under stress. Selection is a machine for answering one question. Is this particular man the right shape for this particular hole? Think about how that judgment is actually rendered. The cadre are not just timing rucksacks. They are running a deep read on the man, often using formal personality profiling built around traits like conscientiousness and emotional stability, situational judgment problems where there is no clean answer, and constant observation of how he behaves when he thinks no one important is watching. At the end, the survivors face a board that can ask them anything and is judging not the words but the person. The whole apparatus is tuned to one output, whether this specific human being will strengthen or weaken this specific team. Toughness is the price of admission to that evaluation. It is not the thing being evaluated. Now run our SAS legend through that machine and watch what happens. The physical events would almost certainly not break him. The man is a master, hardened by one of the most demanding selection systems in the world, and the marches and the navigation would be familiar ground. But the physical events were never the real test, as anyone who has studied Delta selection knows. The real test is the assessment of the man, and there he is, suddenly an outsider, being measured against a mold he was never poured into. He is judged by American cadre, on an American unit's culture, against an American way of operating, by people looking for a very specific personality that fits their team and their missions. His brilliance is real. It is simply brilliance shaped for a different unit. This is not some exotic edge case. It happens to superb soldiers constantly, inside every elite unit on Earth. Decorated Rangers and Green Berets, men with combat records that would stop a civilian cold, walk into Delta selection and walk out without it. And the unit does not treat that as a mistake. It treats it as the system working exactly as designed. The course is not there to confirm that good soldiers are good. Everyone already knows they are. It is there to find the narrow slice of them who fit one particular unit's needs, and to send everyone else home, no matter how impressive, with no hard feelings and no explanation. There is even a version of this where the SAS operator is too good in the wrong way. Years inside, one of the world's premier regiments build deep, automatic habits, a way of moving, deciding, and leading that is correct for the SAS. Under the exhaustion of selection, those automatic habits surface whether he wants them to or not, and some of them will not match what the American cadre are quietly scoring for. He cannot easily switch them off. They are who he has become. A younger, less finished soldier might actually be easier to read as a fit, simply because he has not yet been set hard in another unit's mold. And the personality the cadre are hunting for is maddeningly specific. They are not just looking for a brave, capable man. They are looking for a particular blend of self-reliance and humility, of aggression and restraint, of independence and the willingness to vanish into a team, calibrated precisely to how this unit fights and lives. An SAS operator carries his own version of that blend, tuned over years to the British regiment's needs. The two recipes overlap enormously. But selection is sensitive to the gaps, and a man who is a perfect fit for one tribe can register on another tribe's instruments, as subtly wrong in ways no one can quite put into words. If you have made it this far, you are already one of us. Cadets get every video 24 hours early and a badge in the comments. The link is below, and the familiarity could actually work against him. Because Delta was modeled on the SAS, the two look similar enough that an SAS man might walk in expecting it to function like home. But the units diverged decades ago. Different national culture, different procedures, different organizational personality, 1,000 small things that an outsider would not see until he was being quietly marked down for missing them. A candidate who assumes he already understands the system is exactly the kind of candidate a selection cadre is trained to catch. The closer the resemblance, the easier it is to be tripped by the differences. A man from a completely foreign system might adapt more carefully than one who thinks he has seen it all before. Strip it down and the irony is sharp. Delta inherited the SAS skeleton, the squadron structure, the selection philosophy, the flat culture where ability beats rank. But onto that skeleton, it grew an entirely American body, shaped by Fort Bragg, by a Vietnam-era combat lineage, by the resources and habits of a superpower's military. The bones would feel familiar to an SAS man. The flesh would not. He would keep recognizing the shape of the thing and misreading the substance. And a selection cadre lives for exactly that gap, the space between what a confident outsider assumes and what is actually true. This is the part that should land for every viewer, British or American. Passing a selection course is not the same thing as being elite. They are two different things that people constantly confuse. Great operators wash out of selections all the time, and not because they are secretly frauds, but because selection is hunting for a specific shape, and greatness comes in many shapes. The proof runs in both directions. Take the toughest Delta operator alive, a genuine master of his own craft, and send him to attempt SAS selection at Hereford, judged by British cadre against the British mold, and he could just as easily wash out, for exactly the same reasons. It would say nothing about his ability. It would only say he was built for a different unit. There is a hard reason it has to work this way, and it is about survival, not ego. A special operations unit lives or dies on cohesion. Every man has to fit the same mold, share the same instincts, trust the same way, so that under fire the team moves as one mind. Importing even a brilliant outsider who does not fit that mold can crack the very thing that makes the unit lethal. So selection guards the mold ruthlessly. It would rather reject a magnificent operator who fits imperfectly than accept him and risk the cohesion of the team. That is not arrogance. It is the cold logic that keeps these units alive, and the SAS guards its own mold every bit as fiercely. You see it in the smallest things. The way a team reads each other without speaking, the shared instincts that decide who moves and who covers in the half-second a door comes open, the unspoken trust that lets one man bet his life on another's judgment in the dark. That kind of cohesion is not built from individual talent. It is built from sameness, from men cut to a common pattern. Drop one brilliant operator with different instincts into that machine, and the timing can stutter at the worst possible moment. Selection exists to make sure that never happens, and it will reject genius to protect rhythm. So let me say the respectful part plainly, because the British in this audience have earned it. None of this means the SAS is not tough enough for Delta. The SAS is the unit Delta was built to imitate, the original article, the equal in every way that matters. If the toughest SAS operator ever did fail Delta selection, it would not be a verdict on the SAS or on him. It would be a demonstration that selection does its job, that it measures fit for one specific tribe rather than some universal ranking of warriors. The greatest compliment you can pay both units is to understand that each one protects a mold so specific that even the other's best might not fit it. That is how you build something without equal. You refuse to bend the shape for anyone, no matter how impressive. For the viewer who loves the SAS, there is something worth holding onto here. The fact that even your regiment's finest might not be guaranteed to pass an American selection is not a wound. It is a statement about how fiercely each of these units protects what makes it itself. The SAS does not bend its standard to accommodate a brilliant foreigner either. That refusal, on both sides of the Atlantic, is exactly why both units sit at the very top. Greatness that can be poured into any mold is not greatness. It is just raw material. What these units protect is a finished shape, and they protect it without apology. So here is the part worth arguing about, and I want the British and the American sides of this audience in the comments, fighting it out with respect. Selection measures fit, not greatness, which means the toughest SAS operator could fail Delta selection, and the toughest Delta operator could fail SAS selection, and neither result would prove a single thing about which unit is better. Tell me whether you buy that. Tell me whether passing one specific tribe's brutal test really proves a man is elite, or whether it only proves he was the right shape for that one tribe all along. Official members get the parts that do not survive the public versions, the names and the details we cut before publish. The door is below.